MLS is back and it kicks off Wednesday night with a standalone game between Inter Miami and Real Salt Lake. Now, let's do a quick recap of these teams from last season. For Miami, they may have ended the season on a high after Messi and friends arrived. They won the Leagues Cup and they went to the U.S. Open Cup final, but it was a little too late in regards to making the MLS playoffs. They were 9-18-7. They were outscored 54-41 in the regular season, and they finished 14th in the East, just above Toronto, so well out of the playoff race. But much of that poor play did come when they were a completely different team before all the new additions came. For Real Salt Lake, they finished 5th in the West. They were 14-12-8, but they were outscored 50-48. In the playoffs, their playoff lives were short-lived, going out in round 1 in 3 games to Houston with a 2-1 loss, a 1-1 draw where they won in PKs, and then a 1-1 draw where they lost in PKs. Now let's look at these teams in the preseason to start 2024 for Miami. Now, I did say Miami finished last season strong, and while they made some good appearances in tournament play, they really actually didn't finish the regular season on a high note. Now, Messi was injured and rested in a few of the late meaningless games, and they did end the season winless in their final 7 games, going 0-3-4. That poor form continued into the offseason and the preseason. They did play one friendly game last November against New York City FC, and they lost that 2-1. Now then, when the calendar changed, the 2024 preseason worldwide tour for Miami kicked off, and they've gone a woeful 1-2-4 in 2024 in those games. They have only one win, and it was a 4-1 win against Hong Kong 11. Now, they've been pounded in Saudi Arabia, losing 4-3 to Al Hilal and 6-0 to Al Nassr. In their last 2 games, they drew and lost in PKs to Vissel Kobe and drew a 1-1 to Newell's Old Boys. So if you look back at that form in the offseason, with the preseason included, Miami is actually a pretty bad 1-5-9 in their last 15 games. They've been outscored 26-15 in that time. Now, preseason is preseason, and some of the stars did get some injuries in preseason. You can't really count preseason for much, but still, they were the showcase team being trotted around the globe. So surely they did want to at least put on some kind of good showing, and they really just didn't live up to that so far. For RSL, their preseason, they had an overseas trip to Europe. They lost 2-1 to Brøndby, but they won 1-0 over Fredrikstad and 3-0 over KI before a final 1-1 draw back here in North America, drawing Toronto FC 1-1. Odds in this game, it's no surprise with Miami being the home team. They are favored at -182. The draws +333. RSL +475. Over 2.5 goals. There's goals favored in this game at -200. The unders +150. Both teams to score yes. The favored result at -175. Both teams to score no. +125. Now, some of the key players in this game, if you wanted to bet Messi to get a goal, is -125. Suarez to score, +137. The main man over on RSL side, Chicho Arango, coming in at +260. Head-to-head, these teams have actually never played before, so this is the first all-time meeting between Miami and RSL. Now, last season, Miami at home were 6-6-5 in MLS play. Both teams to score bets in all of their games in MLS hit at a 56% rate. For RSL, on the road, they were 8-5-4. They were one of the highest over 2.5 teams. They were one of 6 teams that were tied with 71% of their games going over that total. Bets on both teams to score were hit in 59% of RSL's games. Now let's look into what we could come up with for some best bets in this game. It is tough to know, being the first game of a new season. Always interesting to see how the new pieces align with a season starting. Now, as bad as Miami has looked in the preseason, you do have to expect that they will put on a show on their home pitch in their first game this year, and they, with all their stars ready to go, including the latest to join in the Messi and Friends tour, that being Luis Suarez, who, while he's still in the twilight of his career now, getting older, many knee injuries, he did win Brazil's Player of the Year with Grêmio last year, so he still clearly has something to give, and he's among the favorites for the Golden Boot this year. They've also added MLS Cup winner Julian Gressel from Columbus. But defense was a problem for Miami last season. It continued in the preseason. They've kept just 2 clean sheets in their last 15 games in all competitions in the preseason and going back to last year. Now, they've also had to sell Gregory for roster compliance reasons, and they have injuries to Facundo Farias and Benjamin Kramashi to worry about as well. And RSL, they were the second best road team in the league last year, so playing on the road is not something that they should be concerned about. Only Orlando in MLS had more points on the road than RSL last season, but RSL did allow the second most goals of any Western Conference playoff team last year, and their playoff lives didn't last very long. They lost top scorer Jefferson Savarino and also Damir Kreilach this offseason, but they still have Andreas Gomez, Chicho Arango, Diego Luna, and also will be getting back Pablo Ruiz sometime soon from injury, but likely not for this game. If RSL hopes, though, to compete long-term, looking far past this game alone, they will, though, need to add to their team, and they do have 2 open DP spots that will need to be used. Oddly, RSL do have an impressive record going, though, where they have not lost their opening day game since going back all the way to 2009. So for a bet in this game, I think it's always going to be hard to bet against Miami and Messi playing at home, so you certainly could look at something like Miami and both teams to score at plus 175 if you wanted to create a same-game parlay. I could also see a 2-1 Miami win. Some way, shape, or form, though, I do think both teams will get on the score sheet. Miami has not looked very good for a long time now. RSL is pretty good on the road. They certainly have players capable of scoring. So if you want to be safer, let's just go both teams to score and over 2.5 at minus 120 odds. Now, this is just the start of a very, very long MLS season. So if you're looking for more MLS picks, be sure to give the video a like and subscribe to the channel for more MLS picks and parlays every weekend as we look down the full slate of games. So best of luck this season, and we'll see you later.